Hi, don't know who all's out there yet, but welcome to this today's meeting in the garden. And what we're going to talk about in the garden is something I taught, I guess, 3 years ago. I was looking through my notes about it, and it's on how to build one of these little things to put on your doorstep. And it's called Golden Stones, and it's a feng shui thing. And since I last talked about it, I found out a few more things. Hi, Jen. Hi, Faye. Hi, Adriana. What suburb in Chicago, Adriana? I grew up in Joliet, um, which it doesn't consider itself a suburb. But last time I was at home, I drove from Midway to Joliet. And when I used to drive into Chicago as a kid, there weren't even Eisenhower's highways yet. You had to go on Route 66, and it was a long Hoffman Estates. I know exactly where you are. Um, and you would drive for miles, and places like Hoffman Estates weren't there. I mean, it was all farmers' fields, and there's a couple towns you pass through. Aurora. Schaumburg wasn't even there. When I left Illinois to come to college in Texas, Schaumburg was a trailer park. That's true. And now it's like corporate headquarters because one of my kids had to go up there for a job thing, and they were in Schaumburg, and they said, "It's this big town. It's right next to Joliet." And I went, "No, it's not. When I left, it was a trailer park." And he found out you didn't remind anybody in Schaumburg of that part of their history. They didn't like it. Joliet was one of the oldest towns there. But you would drive forever, and you wouldn't see a house. You'd see farms, but that was it. And then you'd hit Chicago, and we used to get to drive by the Campbell Soup Factory, which I will still call the Campbell Soup Factory. I don't care what they call themselves. And we could smell in the car what kind of soup they were making. Anyway, enough of my joyous 1950s youth. Last time I was home was in the 2000s, and I drove from the airport to my hometown. And it was town after town after town, and city and houses and stuff. And then there'd be a little space that looked like the old days, and then there'd be towns. And I asked my older brother, who had not yet retired, and I said, "Where'd all these people come from?" He said, "I have absolutely no idea." Okay, I'm marking a couple people. If you want a question answered, it would help if you put it in bold. But anyway, we have enough of you in here now. I will start answering the one question a lady asked early. Will energies calm down a bit in April? And I'm going to use my fancy schmancy cards. These are the most expensive cards I ever paid for myself. They're wonderful cards. They're, what's his name? He signs every deck. He sends you a card with his signature on it, and that's a real signature. I had a friend who knows ink on cards, and she said that was a real thing. He's got a bunch of them, and I'm going to shoot myself, but I don't remember names when I'm starting to work with spirit, so you're going to have to forgive me. Our question is from Catherine. Will the energies come down a bit in April since we're out of direct energy of the eclipses? Thank you. Yes, in part it will end, Catherine, because I do believe one of the two planets that's going retrograde, and there's so many retrogrades, I finally put them in my calendar so I could see them when people ask me questions. It ends. Mercury retrograde ends on the 7th of April. And Venus retrograde goes to April 6th, and Mercury ends April 7th. So that'll help, because when things are retrograde, things seem resolved, and then they're not, and then they start again and they stop. And Some of the stuff that's been starting up, I'm just as glad it's stopping, but what can I say? So we're going to ask Catherine's question. And in the last 4 days, we've had the largest solar storms we've ever had come on the earth, which doesn't help matters any either. They're going to be better. We're not going to get what we really need in the whole month of April, but starting in the month we're going to get some interesting good news, but then it's going to leave us in a position where we're hanging, like where do we go from here? But someone's going to have to make a choice. There's a 4 of Cups is here. Someone's making a choice. And unfortunately, I see the Hermit reversed, and he may be the outlier, or it just may mean that the old ways we used to do things are not going to work, and so they're going to be new ways. So that's still going to require an adjustment. But basically, it's saying energies will calm down some, and you can make them calm down around you by the choices you make. I only allow so much of my day to be consumed by media coming and telling me things. And that includes my kids who want to come tell me, because having worked in politics for years, your children are raised to think you need to, oh, Annie, I already marked you because you didn't know yet. And spell check makes people crazy. Yes, it can come up with some real interesting comments. Okay, we're going to get into this. Okay, we're going to start in on, before we get to Annie, well, Annie, are you really upset about I think it's going to be more successful because it's not going to be in March. I wouldn't have wanted surgery on March 27th or at the end of this month from T in China. When I had a melanoma on the back of my leg, and they called me up and they said, well, when do you want to do it? We can fit you into surgery after this date. I looked for the first date that Mercury wasn't retrograde to, let me see, cancel. I have a function on my computer that decides, oh, she's on YouTube. Let's run a computer check. If it gets far enough, I'm not in YouTube anymore. And we've been trying to figure out why it's misprogrammed, but that doesn't help you with your surgery. Annie, your surgery is going to be, let me pull one card on your surgery. We're going to pull an oracle card because we're only going to pull one card. I don't want to cheese you out too much. So it's from the Archangel Michael deck. That's the one to fill out. Oh, you're ready for more. And it says, your career is growing and blossoming. Time to make changes that you've been contemplating. So that's a positive card. So I would say overall that's saying positive things about your upcoming surgery. I had to look at the card twice because I had 2 cards stuck together and I'd try and figure out which one I'd really pulled. But you'd think at my age I'd know which one I really pulled. I think it's going to be fine, and I think you got a better date. And oh, thank you. I like this color too. It goes with some overtops I have, so that's why I got it. Okay. Okay, so we're going to do first. We're going to start in on the gold things. How do you, I got money questions here. How do you join my membership? The only membership I have is through YouTube. And if you go to where you can subscribe, there's also a button there that says join. If you join, right now, the only benefit to joining is I have tutorials on my garden where I discuss how it developed and how it works. but I'm also going to be expanding that to have some other classwork in it. So that might help you a little bit. Okay, this is what we're talking about. These are the banners. All right, okay. Get the screen clean. This is what it looks like. It looked like on my doorstep. And now I've pulled the stones in, and we're going to paint them today because when you leave them sitting outside, they get nicked around. And I have what in the olden days we called a stoop or a step. I have brickwork that's outside my front door. Wait a minute. That's not what I wanted on the screen. Hold for a second. We're getting there. Nope. It's not doing it. Okay. Can you can't see you can't see the table because I've got the big stones there. This is making me nuts. I'm sorry, people, if I seem a little confused. I thought it was allergies, and so I was treating an upper respiratory infection like it was allergies, and it was not. I have an infection of some kind, and so they've just started me on that stuff, and I'm here. So these are the stones that I put out there. And you can 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 of them. And you can see by the size of my hand about the size the stones are. They can be smaller, they can be bigger, they can be dynamic, they can be all kinds of stuff. But it's what you want to make from them. And what I got was rivers. They're called river stones, I think, in a lot of craft stores. But you can find them, and they get them for you to put on in flower pots. So you can buy them at the craft store if you don't have a creek. If you live near a creek or someplace like that, then you can just go grab them out of the water. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to cover them over again. And you just kind of, I refresh mine once a year, and that's what brought up doing this show, was I was going to be refreshing them anyway. And you can buy stones in bags. It's at craft stores. You can buy stones all kinds of different ways. And the first time I ever did gold stones, it was when COVID had started and we couldn't go out and play with our friends. So what I did was I got a bag of stones from Michael's, and I got these 2 kinds of paint. And this is the one I like the best. It's an artiste paint, and it's an acrylic paint. It washes with water. I also use this one, and it's very glittery, and it's very Vegas, and I didn't like it on the stones as much, but depends on what you can find. And I don't even know if these are still there because, like I said, I did that during COVID. But I think if I were to do it now, I would have a party, and I'd get the paints and the stones and things to put them on. And these are really inexpensive brushes to use. And I would invite some friends over, and we'd all make stones for our own doorsteps. And why do you want a stone on your doorstep? It's the traditions of leaving a mound of gold on a doorstep comes from where I found it was in Feng Shui. And that's where I ended up putting that on there. Then, but there's also a lot of it in mainstream folklore. There's a lot of things about turning into gold. And it appears now, and this is a change, because last time I looked this stuff up on Google, I did not get that there appears to be a modern metaphysical approach and spiritual approach to these Feng Shui-inspired practices. Well, I kind of knew that because I was doing it, but what can I say? And what do you do it for? Why do you want these stones sitting on your doorstep? Wealth and prosperity. Gold is universally associated with abundance, success, and financial growth. And for one of my friends, even during COVID, her stores grew and built, and she expanded her little empire really well during all that. Protection, they provide protection as a boundary energetically, grounding the space and warding off negativity. Welcoming energy, that's what I use it for. I like it to welcome energy into my house. And when I arrange them, I do it with that intention. And I have a new thing I'm going to add to the discussion of this. I'm going to add certain stones you can put in depending on what kind of energy you want to pull in your house, and then make it part of a manifestation ritual and anchors for wealth, affirmations, prosperity grids. Front doors are seen as the mouth in the chi of your home, and it's a powerful place to put intentions. And the most likely places it came, well, I know it came from Feng Shui because you can find it actually somewhere written in Chinese books about putting these outside your home. Folk medicine and hoodoo. And I didn't know it was a hoodoo practice till I was looking this up yesterday and found out that they put something very similar on their threshold, and they will also put coins underneath stones and herbs if they have herbs. If you herbalism and you know anything about that, I don't. I know it tastes good in my food. And then modern spiritual practices say do it yourself. Well, we're doing it ourselves. But they also say to blend crystals, painted stones, symbolic objects on the way. And they also talked about putting sigils. Each of the archangels has a sigil. It's SIGIL. You could actually paint that on a couple of these stones if you wanted to welcome that energy into your home. And today, when I brought these in and found them kind of rubbed, I mean, they weren't dirty. I mean, they always look bright and gold. I've had several Amazon people ask me about what are those stones by your door. Arrange them with a clear affirmation of what you want them to do. Periodically refresh them. We do go out about once a quarter, and because we have little men with leaf blowers, and those leaves will blow everywhere, including between little tiny rocks like this. And these are, people always say, well, can I add a crystal? What else can I do? And here's the crystals. If you want abundance and prosperity, it's the typical ones: pyrite, citrine, green aventurine. Each one of the aventurines has a different color, and what they draw in is drawn to the color you put with them. And tiger's eye. Tiger's eye is a real good abundance and prosperity. Tiger's eye is also excellent protection. And then for protection at your doorstep, black tourmaline. Well, I have my own big chunk of black tourmaline I have hanging on a letter rack that hangs by my front door. Obsidian. And especially right now, and I don't know if it's just because there's a wealth of it out there, but people are pushing mahogany or golden sheen obsidian. But I love my rainbow obsidian. The only problem is it just looks like a black rock when it's in the house. If you take it out in the sun, you can see the rainbows in it. Hematite, which will ground your energy. And hematite's a very heavy black rock. It's an interesting looking rock. It's not all sparkly and shiny like quartz, but it's a very powerful rock. And fluorite. Fluorite does anything. And your fluorite could be, this is a fluorite. This is a fluorite chip. It could be a fluorite chip. It could be a fluorite octahedron. This fluorite octahedron is so small, it won't let me pick it up. Okay, yeah, well. That little cubey looking thing is a fluorite octahedron. And it doesn't help that it's a light octahedron in my white hand, but You could put that little stone in the middle, and if you put it in with the intent to protect you, it does. Size doesn't matter with crystals. It really doesn't. Attract higher vibrational energies. For that, you want clear quartz, selenite, sunstone, and carnelian. And then that's kind of the three things people ask me. What can I pull in my house? Well, usually they want abundance, they want protection, or they want to attract more energy to themselves. Like I ought to be carrying around my giant quartz thing with me all day long, trying to get my energy up. But why fight nature? I'm going to fight the little booger bears with meditation and move on. Okay, how to arrange the things. I'm going to go back to the other camera, and for those of you who get terribly confused by my switching cameras, I'm sorry if it upsets your tummy. But what I try to work with is I usually put the biggest stone on the bottom, and then I balance them around the different size ones. And I just got gold paint on my finger. Good thing about acrylic paint is it just rubs off. And all this is washable. And these will be dry in an hour and ready to go outside. And you can stack them up any way you want. I have a little sort of V-shaped corner. I build them in there. I went out this morning, swept it out, cleaned it all up, got it all ready for them to come back. And you can also, depending on where you live, you might want to consider putting them in a bowl or a cauldron or something like that. So if you need to pick it up to do something with it, you can also put them around a base of a plant. If you have a plant next to your front door, that'll work. And it says like tuck in anything you want that will help you remind you of what you want your little mountain of gold to do. So that's just something fun you can do, and I hope you enjoy it. This is the size of one of my medium-sized ones, so it's about 3 inches across are my medium-sized stones, and then I have a couple big stones. And like I said, if you're fortunate enough, and you ought to be out there anyway doing this, walking out in nature, finding stones. But I realize if you're in New Hampshire, that's probably not going to happen because your stones are going to be underwater or under snow. So that's how this works. Okay, Julie asks, gold is for attracting. No, this is for setting up a little power station by your front door. I just went through the things you can put in there for protection, and they can serve as a protection boundary. So those stones reflect your values. Now, repelling Republicans. This may be, if that was true, I'd be painting the stones and sending them to all of you. But I don't have that ability. Let's see what else we got in the comments. Okay. Jane, I think I answered all your questions. When I first tried my first batch of stones, I tried doing gold spray, and I didn't live in a place where gold spray was particularly easy to handle because I didn't have like a garage or someplace to put it. And so I just found brushing it on with the acrylic paint was fine. And any old stones. I mean, as long as they fit in the space you want, they're not going to trip people up coming up to your door. Yeah, any old stones. And just have a good time. And if you have some friends you'd like to invite over and have a let's paint the stones party, I painted them for some friends, and I unfortunately chose to do that in the wettest spring we've ever had in Texas, and it rained every day and it took forever for those stones to dry. But like today, these will be dry immediately because we're not getting rain till late tonight. And that's the first rain we've had in a while. Okay. we're going to go to questions that have popped up in the chat. And we're going to use which cards? We're going to use my regular cards. I have things scattered around my desk because I had to make room to paint rocks. So things are moved from their normal places. Yeah, let's see. Gaming for my mental health. Your guide, what? Gaming to know. I'm looking around because something's happening. In one of my ears, I'm getting a real clear ringing sound. That could be just something's going on around me. But this is ringing awfully loud, guys. So interesting to turn off my show and see what's happening in the world. Okay. Your guides want you to know there's a woman in your life and she's been causing you some problems. And there's a man in your life who's trying to tell you that this is not a good idea, whoever she is. And you are just not getting in the boat with anybody. You're finding it very, very hard right now to get together with people. That's the Three of Wands. And in this deck, it's literally getting in the boat with people and sailing off. But you want to move on. But you haven't found the place to move on to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out and I put these on my table so you can see them, but I can't do that because then they'd have gold paint all over them. It would be a mess. So I'm pulling this card for you, this one out of the reading. What is the deal with the Three of Wands? Okay. Your spirit wants you to know that someone told you a pack of lies when you were quite young and you're still holding on to them. Big time. And that's what blocks you from having goals. But the power of tarot is you can always turn a card around. You need to pick some goals for yourself to put yourself in a comfortable position so you can go on and make your own judgments. And I hope that helps. There's of the two adults I saw that are talking with you, that are influencing you right now, the male and the female, she has kind of a sharp tongue. She's had kind of a tough life, and she tends to evaluate everybody's life with what she's been through. And the man, he's a nice guy. He really wants your best interest at heart, but he's also, because the decisions aren't coming from you, they're not going to be as strong. So what he's telling you, things he's pointing out to you are not bad, but they may be worth pursuing. And the other thing that they're telling me is you need to kick your bad-mouthing inner child to the curb and just say, no, I'm not going to listen to that, because that's not really your inner child. That's the inner child that someone else put in you, and it's not to your benefit. And let me see if I can pull one card. What's good for her? Get going and get building on your own. This is a craftsman. You have all the abilities to build a life, and you need to get out of where you are, or if not physically out of where you are, you need to pull away emotionally from where you are, because that's where you're going to be able to find your real peace and contentment. Okay, let's see. Jan asked, how do you join your membership? You go to where it says subscribe, and you've already figured that out, I presume. And when you get to the subscription, there'll be a button that says join. It should just lead you to the page that tells you how to join. And it's a membership you can join monthly. Once you join, you'll be on a monthly membership, and once you want to leave, you can just cancel it at any time. I appreciate the question. And like I said, I try to about every other week, I have a private meeting of the people who are members, and we talk a lot about the garden, but we also talk just about a lot of other things. I already did you. And it looks like a fun project. I hope it does. I'm not Raid. I can't help you with that. We were just discussing this. We have an invasion of water bugs. I refuse to call them roaches, but they're giant roaches like this big in the spring. And we finally found one in the house today. So we have to get our game up in the house on how to do that. Hi, Dragonfly. Jen, I can't help you with that. I really hate introducing stones to people that live with Republicans because they might start throwing them at them. And that's not a good thing either. No, the paint does not wash off in the rain. Those have been out there for 3 years, and I did a little touch up a year ago, but very little. I had more to touch up now, and mine sit out on a doorstep that gets morning sun in Texas, and we had 112-degree temperatures in the summer. Didn't blister off. It doesn't wash off. We have a sprinkler system that goes on that spits up onto the porch. So, I wouldn't put them in a muddy spot. I wouldn't put them in a swamp. But that's why I was saying you need to look at where you want to put the stones. And I had a friend who built a little kind of wooden platform for them to be up on, so that when they blew leaves and this stuff around it, they kind of blew around them. But, and I have small children in my neighborhood that play every night out in the front drive. And I've never lost a stone. And you can also paint stones like this and put them next to your fairy houses if you have those on your grounds. Hello, Barbara Berkman. Do I have a message from my spirit? Thank you. Gaming for my mental health says that what I said rang true for her. I'm used to reading people personally, like talking to them, and so I can get clarifications, but I just felt like that was very, very true for you. But it's spring. It's time for us to plant our intentions in the air and in the water and in the sky. And this would be a good thing to do before the eclipses and because this eclipse is not a one where you want to write a long list of intentions, because of it being an eclipse, it's going to take 6 months for it to work its way out. But okay, something just knocked off my desk, and I'm not shuffling that hard. I can't imagine why. Speaking of fairies being in your life. Okay, anyways, Barbara's messages from your spirit. Let it go, girl. You got 2 10s and a 1, which means 10s mean I'm at the end of something, and 1 means I'm in the beginning. This is, you've built a safe and happy place for you to be. And I think it's as much spiritually as within the family. It's time for you to strike out and take some new actions. It is really time to let go of the grief. Shed those grief like they are. Your problem is you're not stepping up to the plate as who you are. Remember, I told you can turn cards around in the tarot. You need to set yourself up as the Queen of Wands. And if you do not relate to the Queen of Wands, as a woman who's the beginner of things and the creator of things, there may be a woman around you who's trying to offer you something you don't want to take. Don't take what she wants to offer. You built a good background for yourself, and you're capable of taking your own action. I'm going to put the Queen of Wands down and see if it's you. Oh, I want to thank you. I don't know who all of you are, but I got 40 new members in the last 2 weeks. And I have no idea where you came from because they don't tell me that. But all they tell me is that you showed up. So thank you for being here. That helps my algorithms. I'm trying real hard to keep it going. The Queen of Wands is not you. And you got another 4 with the Queen of Wands. Rest away from her. You've been indecisive about her, but I think recently you kind of made your mind up. Maybe when you speak from your heart, she's not the person you need to be following. She wants to lead you to a change you've tried before. It did not work. She's somehow related to a blonde-haired man you know. And she's trying to lure you with, but I have the money and I have the power. So, geesh. You can build your own life. Your spirit's trying to tell you you're being attracted by, oh, well, this is a nice idea and go this direction. They're not leading you in the direction you really need to go. And I hope that helps. It's not like, oh, do what you're doing. It's just fine. I always feel bad when I can't say that. I don't get to say that very often. Do what you're doing. It's going to be just fine. I just got a new member. Yay. Jana. Thank you. Okay. Oil painter. Hello, Nancy Jean Travel Dancers. Love this mountain of gold. Time for me to create your new pile. Yeah. Oil painter was back with me in the time we built the first one. And all of the theory on it was built on Feng Shui, but it was fascinating when I went looking for information, because the first time I looked at this, I had trouble finding it in Feng Shui. And nobody was talking about it. And today when I was looking in Google and some other sources, and they were all saying, oh, modern, metaphysics has picked this up, which is great. I'm glad, because I think it really helps. If nothing else, when I come home, I remember that it's there. And all little reminders we can place around ourselves of the positive actions we take for ourselves are important. Okay. DG wants to know what April looks like. And that's a Jason. Is that in that picture? No. Oh, BG was the person below. I'm sorry. I'm getting I told you guys I'm not well. What an upper respiratory infection does to me is I get oxygen deprived. I actually have canisters of oxygen in my house. Okay. Jason, any message for spirit for me? I don't know what you're doing, but you're doing it right. Boy, are you doing it right. Okay. You're seizing your own power. You're doing a better job of letting the stuff go and not worrying about what happened before. What happened before and that disappointment has stopped you from moving forward in a way you need to move forward, because your goal is just on the horizon and it's going to bring in incredible wealth, prosperity, and goodness around you. So what do I take out of here? I say you need to quit crying over spilt milk. Quit trying to do it the same old way you did it before. Look for the new avenue, flip it around, go for the 2 cups that are still on the mantle, and turn yourself around and charge forward. But the Knight of Swords is really, if what you're debating is a move. Whenever I get the Knight of Swords, it's always moving house, moving office, moving. and you've been debating the move. Don't move till you feel, but the second you move, it's all going to fall together. But, if you can't, and might I say, you might not want to move before the 6th or 7th of April and that it would be a quick move. I don't know where you live or what you have to move to. But that's when all the reverses are out of the sky right now that we have. And we have. Would love a message, BG, about April. Okay, let's see. BG. April. Oh dear. Okay. You're fighting with materialism. You're fighting with money, affection, enterprise, or just daydreaming gets in the way of you moving forward. And because you're so tied to them, you see that you're chained to the 4 cup, you're chained to the 4 suits. You don't see the spirit world that's behind it. You've been around someone who's influenced you like that. You've managed to fight them off and keep them from eating you up completely. They have not brought the destruction to you that they wanted to. You are now in a point of, I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to wait till I get the offer I want. In part, this April's going to remind you of a time when you invested, you thought well, and it didn't come out right. And I don't think you're going to come to a conclusion in April because you're still feeling very imprisoned. You're feeling imprisoned by your past choices from these people. But the strongest card you have in here is the 4 of Cups that you're considering where to go next. So we're going to read on your where to go next. And May's a good time to have things happen to you. I like May. It's the month I was born in, so I better like it. BG. I'm going to try and focus in on what you need to be considering on. Okay. Of the cards you got, the best one is the Hermit. You need to find someone wise around you can talk to so that you can shed the moon, so you can shed the stuff that's holding you back. And you need to do that before you can move forward. And April is probably going to be a good month for you to meet that person, or you may already know that person, but figure out a way to share with them what you need. Asking for help is not a crime. Asking for someone to say, listen to me and just tell me what you're hearing. Because often we'll say to other people the things we won't say to ourselves. Yes, you should wait about exclaiming your intentions because the Mercury and Venus retrogrades. They're clouding our thinking. You think today I think this way and tomorrow I think that way. And so it's normally I'm really pretty clear-headed, and finally I was just trying to bull in the china shop, which I am a Taurus, to try and get through it. And the universe has now handed me lung crud just to make sure I'll really slow down. I'll slow down for lung crud. I was hospitalized for 11 days with pneumonia, and they didn't think I was going to leave. So I will stop for lung crud. Okay. Jana, yes, I will tell you the trick, Jana, is use your PC. iPads and Apple phones do not favor joining things on YouTube. And Jane Foster. Okay. What is an example of a clear? My intention right now, Jane, and Jane knows me. Jane's part of my members people, and she and I talk. I'll see her Thursday night, as a matter of fact. My intention right now is get me through this effing eclipse. And just that sweet and short. And let's see. And Oil Painter says to watch out for them Pisceans. Oh, you love the pieces. I thought I was reading the blue cap gnomes. Yes. Yes. And the elementals are pouring out of the earth. And unfortunately, some of them are coming to me and saying, I have no assignments for them. I just need to know their energy's here. And I don't know if you heard about it, but last night we had a solar storm that was one of the highest we've ever had in 20 something years. And it was after two that were also the two highest before that we'd had in 20 something years. And for some reason, solar storms like earthquakes, or earthquakes like solar storms. I don't know which of the two. Anyway, there was a 6.9 earthquake on the southern island of New Zealand last night. And these have been following this stuff. And the way the planets are going to line up for this eclipse, I just feel like we're being energetically taken apart and put back together. So it's a really important time for us to figure that, try to stay as centered as we can in whatever we have to hold on to, whatever we want to work with. Jen, really? Elementals followed me to work. I saw one just yesterday and ran right into the glass door. Yeah, they can be very attractive. But those dimensions are breaking through to us. And I don't want to get into dimension wars where I don't see them, but you do. And what's the deal? And yet. So let's talk about pleasanter thing. I mean, I'm sorry, elementals. I think you're absolutely pleasant. You're wonderful. Unless you get pissed at people, and I don't want you doing that. Okay, I will be teaching tarot again. Starts 4/16. These dates were picked because they were beyond certain planetary influences. It's a 6-week class. There's one on Wednesday in the evening, and there's one on Saturday in the afternoon. In the afternoon one on Saturday, right now we have it at 3 o'clock. If someone needs that time change, we're willing to look at that. I teach with Jeffrey Ripecolor. And this time, with the class, Jeffrey has just published a book. And he sold close to 100 of them, and he hasn't really started marketing them yet. And it's about how to do shadow work. And he also wrote a book on the symbols of the tarot. And he's talking about the Rider-Waite deck. Jeffrey does not read reverses. I do read reverses. When we train you with a Rider-Waite deck. Even if you've read another deck before, we like everybody on the same deck, so we're all talking the same language. There's 10 people in a class. We give you materials. There's Jeffrey's book on symbolism you're going to be using. There's my notes and things that have been developed. I've been teaching tarot over 25 years, and there have notes and comments and ways to divine it. Your first class is in numerology. Then we teach the minor arcana. Then we teach the major arcana and the fool's journey. And at the end of those 3 weeks, with a couple simple readings we'll throw in, you'll be able to read cards. You won't read as fast as I read because I've been doing it since I was a kid, but you'll be able to read. And that's my goal, is to let each person read at the space they are and who they're with. You can go to my website, which is www.crystaldirections.com, and sign up. Like I said, the classes really are limited to 10. And last time I had a lady who showed up the day after the first class and said, oh, I kept meaning to sign up, and 10 is 10. I mean, I won't teach a giant class with 45 people in it because I don't think I can reach them. And my goal in teaching tarot is to teach you tarot. And my 9 candle ceremony, if you've never been around for that, it will return on April 24th and it will go through May 2nd. It's a quick thing. I will have it at a scheduled time. I've had it at 7 in the evening. I'm thinking about moving it around. But anyway, I'm usually on with another reader or an astrologer or a person who has meaning and note and weight to them in the world of metaphysics. And we light a candle and we meditate on something. And all I was told is you're doing it from April 24th to May 2nd. Normally, I will channel in what the message is going to be. I know this time, the one thing I keep hearing is accepting change. So I think it's going to be about accepting change. And it's really nice to come in once a day, think about it. We have a positive spin on it. We try to keep it going. And let's see what else. Jana, our tarot class is fantastic. Yay! And okay, old oil painter. She has a real positive view on astrology. Sun trashes your plans for the next 2 years. Thanks for the positive thought. I heard she's a young channeler. Well, she's young compared to me. She's probably in her 30s or maybe 40s. And her name's Gia Prism. And she was a TikTok short person for a long time. But I find her to have a lot of wisdom. And one of the things she said in one of her last things that I watched where she's speaking is, in this time of change, it's really important that we focus on not what they do to us, but what is presented by the universe for us to use. And I think that's the problem, is everybody keeps asking about, why are they doing this to me? Well, first of all, you're kind of in a big sea of people that things are happening to. And secondly, how do you learn how to use that pull to pull your energy into a new, better direction? And I struggle with it every day, but I'm learning that when I look at the world that way, I feel much better. How do you, and you'll get messages when you're talking about what are they doing for me, then you'll start seeing the messages of what's coming for you. Oil painter, you just found out you're allergic to the sun. I've been allergic to the sun for years. I got this giant raspberry rash, and I live in Texas. Not a lot of fun, and it gets worse as I get older. So, okay, got another question. You got in under the bell, Nancy Ruth, because I don't usually take them after 50 minutes in. Okay. Messages from your spirit guides. Well, I'm going to tell you one thing I'm going to tell you right now, and I've gotten jumped by this from people. Your spirit guides are your spirit guides. They're there with you. And, I knew I had spirit guides, and I was working psychic fairs and reading cards. I was in my early 70s when I finally got a name to Addie. And when I met her in a vision, she explained to me how and why she'd been there with me the whole time. And meeting her and opening myself up to her was the best thing that ever happened to me as far as my own abilities. But so I'm telling you, Nancy Ruth, I'm going to read what your spirit guides, because they're going to talk to my guides and all that stuff. But this is what your spirit guides want you to know. This is their message. Well, it's all real positive so far. Oh, I've pulled this card so many times today. I think this is a universal message for the day. You're hearing a lot of stuff. Sit under the tree and wait. You'll know when to take action. But specifically for you, Nancy Ruth, you have a lovely name, by the way, Nancy. You've made a big change in your life. You've moved on from something. It's leading you. You got these two cards too. It's leading to great prosperity and a new beginning. But there's a part of your childlike self that isn't satisfied with everything that's going on around you. And so you're also being told, now is the time. You've had all this great stuff happen. Now is the time for you to wait. And you haven't gotten all the messages you need to know how to move forward. And I see a lot of golden light around you, and I see a lot of positivity around you. Matter of fact, I think you're sitting there pinching yourself and saying, when everything's falling apart around people, how come I feel so good? And you feel so good because you've earned it. You made the moves you needed to make, and you've earned what you've earned. So don't let what other people try to say to you blight your ability to adjust to that. That's what your guides are telling you. And go talk to them. One of your guides' names is Clarice. I don't do that often, folks, but you really need to talk to Clarice yourself. And Jane has, during the worst of times, positivity is very powerful and it's much needed. And that's what we need. We need positivity and we need to help and change. And it's 56 minutes I've been doing this. I'm trying to think. Thank you, oil painter. I'll tell you a story and then I'm going to cut this off. When I started the garden, I'd been told by the time I started the garden in December of 2020, I'd already knew Sheila and I knew Andrea, who has decided to go back into her own world, and some other readers, and they kept saying, you need to have a channel, you need to have a channel. And I kept saying, nah, because I used to work in broadcasting, and the idea of sitting here running my own little thing on my own was mind-boggling to me. One night I woke up, and in the dream I walked into where my office is now. There was a brick wall in the middle of the floor. And I said, this wasn't here when I went to bed. And they said, paint the wall. So I looked down, and beside me was a big can of paint. I painted the wall, and it dissolved the bricks. Well, my first question was, what kind of hell paint is that it can dissolve Chicago bricks? But beyond the brick wall was this beautiful garden full of all kinds of plants, veggie plants, green flowering plants, herbs, different things like that. And I love having gardens. I don't live in a place where I can have one right now, but I love having gardens. And I went, well, this is beautiful. What's it about? And they said, it's Nancy Jean's garden. You're going to start a channel now, and you're going to find a place to bring people where they can peacefully come and learn how to plant their own seeds. You know how to plant seeds. They don't know how to plant seeds. You need to help them plant their seeds so they can grow. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. So I told my two children, one of my kids is a computer whiz. 48 hours later, I had a graphic intro that had been done by a woman who does graphics for the History Channel, who's a friend of my daughter's. I had a theme. The whole thing was set up. All I had to do was push and play and run my shows. And that was the beginning of Nancy Jean's Garden. Well, one of the first people who was ever part of that is a person named Ursula. She calls herself Ursi. She runs the Ascension Garden Program. And she was one of the first people. We talked about how do you plant the seeds in the soil and how do you grow your own your skills. She now has a very successful channel. What she went into is something I do not teach. It's galactic astrology. And I don't even really understand it. I understand it when she does the chart and she says, this is how you do it. But she was just on with Danny, and I hadn't seen Ursi for a while. I knew she was overdoing her thing. So I talked to her, emailed with her briefly yesterday, and she's going to come on and talk about what I want to see this community become, a place where you come in and you say, you don't have to ask me what your spirit guides are telling you to do. You know what your spirit guides are telling you to do. You don't need a translator. You don't need another person to run it for you. You need to learn how to speak your own truth and listen to your own self. And that's the hardest part. Trust me, I don't listen to my own self. They have to kick me in the butt to get me moving. Or to right now, today, it's going to be not moving. But that's, if I have a goal in being part of the metaphysical community, it's not to have 40,000 subscribers. Although, universe, I'm not saying I would be adverse to it. But my goal is to have all the Ursies, every person who's hearing my voice today, or hears this tape, or hears this video. If you could figure out how to become your own Ursie. There's 100 ways we can be our own person, find our own passion, find the thing we love, work with the things we love. And if we're all doing that, we're so busy loving what we do, we don't have time to hate. We don't have time to disregard. We don't have time to minimalize. And I actually think I'd rather someone hated me than minimalized me. But that's where I want us to go. That's where I'm heading. You can learn more about that if you want to take my class. I also do private readings, and I do past lives 3 months starting in June, and it will be up in the month of May, will be the 6-month readings to the end of 2025. I posted my doing 12-month readings for 2025 the day after the election, day before the election. Bad timing. After the election, I thought nobody's going to know about 2025. Little did I know how right I was. So that's kind of me in a nutshell today. I'm going to go get my Banky and curl up in my comfy chair. I took care of the cat. Everything's taken care of in my world that needs to be taken care of today. Laundry's even folded before I got here. So, hi, Flower Beauty Peacock Rainbow. I hope it's calm for you in India. And I hope it's calm for everyone, wherever you are on the globe. Just realize the earth is accepting a lot of energy. We need to be strong so we can take it and transmute it and use it. Thank you.